آمنت بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر والقدر خيره وشره من الله والبعث بعد الموت لا إله إلا الله.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. May the peace, mercy and blessings of God Almighty be with you. Welcome once again to the teachings of Islam with your host Khalil Kiv. My dear friends, as you all know, being here with you on this show brings me so much of joy. Interacting with some of you folks out there, asking questions, getting to know more about Islam, exchanging views, etc. These are things that really help me to feel so excited every time I come on this show. So I want to say a special thank you to all of you that continue to follow this show and even go to the extent of coming out and asking questions and showing an interest in learning more about Islam. So all the best in your quest for knowledge in the future. Now, for the past couple of weeks, we have been dealing a lot with the Sharia and what it entails, different aspects of the Sharia. And as I've mentioned to you before, it's really, really difficult for us to get every minute detail of the Sharia just in this half an hour. So today, once again, we'll continue with another subject area about the Sharia, just to give you a gist of these things that you may want to ask about, or you may want to know, or for some time you've been puzzled about these aspects of Islam. So today we're going to look at the penal system of Islam. As we go forward, we'll deal with different aspects of it. So as we know, when people ask about the Sharia, based on the things that are in media, people they very often they ask questions such as why someone was stoned to death, why someone has to have his hand cut if he stole something, why was a person flogged, etc. These are things that often come in the media, and people their view of the Sharia is always obscure. It's like, okay, the Sharia is so barbaric, it is merciless, and hands are being cut, people are being stoned, they are being flogged, etc. And very often we don't get the correct picture. We don't get the clear picture with regards to these aspects of Sharia. And the picture is often painted about the Western law as this very beautiful, accommodating, just and fair system. So we need to know the truth and the reality about the laws of Sharia, as opposed to the one that that teaching that is being portrayed by ISIS or by the media. So first of all, the laws of Sharia were carved out by God Almighty so that we as human beings can uphold justice in the earth, that each and every human being can receive his and her rights. There are rights that each and every human being is entitled to, given these rights by God Almighty. Now, even though a person has certain rights, he or she must not think that these rights are to be these rights are there to remain under all conditions. For example, if someone thinks that it is my right to have food and to have potable water, etc., etc. Okay, fine. So these are your rights. Well, what if your rights are at the expense? What if gaining your rights are at the expense of someone else's right? So are you still entitled? Is it like an automatic thing where you just go reach out for your rights, grab your rights, even if someone is crying, someone is feeling pain, someone is being oppressed? So in Islam, we look across the board that each and every person should be given their right. Even the Prophet Muhammad, on whom be peace, he said, "Ati kulla dhi haqqin haqqa." Give every deserving person his or her right. Give every deserving person his or her right. So it has to do with deserving. There are times when a person may commit certain crimes and they automatically forego their rights as a human being. There are certain cases in which a person, by infringing on the rights of others, he is not deserving of his own rights. And we see this even within the Westminster system. A person, it is his right to be free. But if he commits a crime, then that right is taken away. So the same, these are some of the similarities also that exist within the laws of Sharia. That a person's rights may be taken away at times because of that person committing a crime or doing some acting against the commands of God Almighty. Now, the Holy Quran says, "Inna Allah ya'mur bil adl wal ihsan." That most certainly God Almighty commands mankind to uphold adl, justice, fairness in the earth, and ihsan and kindness. Now, each and every law within the Sharia is balanced. It is balanced between adl, which is justice, and ihsan, kindness. Now, sometimes in carrying out justice, it may seem as if there is no kindness, but we are very often just focusing on the actual person who is on the receiving end of the penalty. So, for example, if someone consumes alcohol in a country that is run by Sharia, that person, if found in that state of intoxication, that person will be flogged 80 lashes, will be given 80 lashes. Now, someone hearing this will be thinking, but wow, how could this be? Why should this person be flogged for enjoying himself and expressing his desire to enjoy a right that he's entitled to, the right to party, the right of enjoyment and recreation? Now, see, in looking at this situation from this angle, we're actually only looking at the perpetrator. We are actually looking at securing and preserving the rights of the perpetrator. We're not thinking of the victims or the potential victims of the perpetrator and their rights. We're not looking at that. For example, how many women and children out there in our society are being abused because of a man, a husband, or a brother, or a son that is addicted to alcohol or addicted to cocaine or some other drug? Many of us may know of persons that are suffering at the hands of such perpetrators. That's what it's very prevalent in society. I have, seen in the community that I grew up in, women being battered and having their hands broken, having, their faces swollen, having their tooth knocked out by a person that was a constant alcoholic, a person that would come home every single day drunk like a fish and picking upon his children and the poor wife. So in a Muslim society, in a society that is governed by the laws of Sharia, it wouldn't even get to this. A person would not even have the privilege of consuming alcohol to the extent now he's turning, he's becoming a danger to society. Such a person would actually, on the first instance, where he is found to be intoxicated, he will be grabbed by the enforcers of the Sharia, the police, of course, and he will be flogged in front of, in public. He will be flogged, not like he would be held in a cell and tortured, or he'd be held in some enclosed place and he'll be tortured. No. In a public area, he would be flogged. He'll be given 80 lashes. And the Quran says that that these penalties they are not to just create, it's not there to create harm upon people and kill them, etc. No, it is nakal. It is an exemplary punishment. It is a punishment or such laws that are carried out to set examples so that others, young children growing up now, can look upon that and say, you know what, look at this individual. Look at the shame that he is bringing to his family and to himself, just because he is so reckless with his life that he is continuing to not only harm others but even harm himself by destroying this beautiful body that he was given by God Almighty. See, and this is something that we need to think about also. Every time a person consumes alcohol or a person consumes some drug, you are actually destroying that gift that was given to you by God Almighty that you didn't pay anything for. You did not pay anything for this, for these beautiful eyes that you have been given, for the ears, for the ability to speak, for the ability to smell and taste, for this body, for the arms that you have, for the legs that you have. All of these organs of the body, all of these parts of the body that make you a complete human being, you did not earn them. You did not pay a cent for them. You were granted these things by God Almighty. So when God Almighty prohibits us from consuming something that is harmful, not only to society but your own self, we should look at the wisdom in it and think, well, if I follow the commands of God Almighty, then not only would I be saving others from my harm, but I'll be saving myself from destruction. How many persons out there may be suffering from cirrhosis of the liver? How many persons out there, they're eating from bins? Their lives are lost. Their children and their wives have walked out on them because of their addiction that they are suffering from. So the laws of Sharia are not like corrective, that we allow someone to do as they like with their own selves and the lives of others, and then just say, okay, we're going to put you, we're going to lock you up, or we're going to just try to curb your habit. No, the Sharia nips the problem in the bud. The first time you are caught intoxicated, the first time we realize that you are consuming alcohol, the police will grab you and they will give you 80 lashes. So you know what? You will not think in the future of doing something like this. And mind you, these lashes are not lashes to break bones. As a matter of fact, the Sharia is very particular with this. A penalty is carried out in proportion to the crime that was committed. A penalty is carried out in proportion to the crime that was committed. So a person will not be, flogged and the 80, lashes be such that his back is bruised, his limbs are broken, he cannot, work for his family the next day, he cannot feed himself, he has to be, he's now becoming a liability to the state. No, this is not what happens. The lashes or the flogging that a person receives for the likes of, being intoxicated is just an exemplary punishment, a punishment that should give a person a warning so that this person can rectify themselves. Okay? So don't be fooled by what you see in the media, or you are told about ISIS or somebody was killed for being intoxicated. The laws of Sharia, in the laws of Sharia, you cannot kill someone. You cannot exceed the limits. Even in a penalty. Even in a penalty, you cannot exceed the limits. There are strict guidelines that requires that the penalty be proportionate to the crime that was carried out. How many, we hear so many stories of people, languishing in prison, in the U.S. and other countries, languishing in prison. They're given, life without parole and all of these things for crimes that they did not even commit, for crimes that they could have been given, a shorter term, while others that the system favors will commit the same crime and they walk free, or they are just given a tap on the wrist and that's it. So the laws of Sharia doesn't favor anyone. It is so that justice can be carried out in the earth across the board. Recently, I'm sure you may have seen this on the news in BBC or CNN, one of those, it was in the international news, where a Saudi prince, someone belonging to the royal family, he was found guilty of killing a normal citizen in Saudi. Now remember, this guy is from the royal family. His family is way up there. They're the ones in charge. And the victim, the murder victim, was a person from a very normal family, very basic family, not very wealthy or anything. They have no ties to the royal family. So this was the case. And in such a case, in the laws of Sharia, if someone is found guilty of murder, then the penalty for murder is death penalty in the laws of Sharia. Now, a lot of countries in the Western world also had the same system, but for whatever reason, it was deemed barbaric, it was deemed unfair, etc. Now, it's really ironic that some countries, some places in the U.S., some cities in the U.S. still carry out the death penalty, but using a little injection or something is supposed to be more humane. But nevertheless, they are achieving the same objective, which is the death penalty. While many other countries in the world are actually forcing smaller countries to actually abolish the death penalty. So it's so unfair. If you really think about it, why are some states in the U.S. are still carrying out the death penalty, and no one is forcing them to abandon it? No one is saying that it's barbaric. No one is saying that it's so inhumane. But smaller countries, especially those in the Caribbean, even recently I see the president of Guyana was being pushed to abolish the death penalty, whereby the crime situation is actually it just keeps soaring, and increasing all the time. So the system is very unfair if you really think about it. And this is exactly what the laws of Sharia, when implemented correctly, this is what it is actually to mitigate and to remove the unfairness that is there, where some people are favored and some are not. Okay, so this Saudi prince, he actually was found guilty of murder. And see, in the laws of Sharia, murder is treated as a civil matter. It is actually treated as a civil matter. In other words, if the person that is found guilty of murder is, if the family of the victim wants to pardon him in exchange of what we refer to as blood money, or in exchange of a settlement, the laws of Sharia do not come in between and say that, what, leave this to the state. This is not a matter for you to handle. We are already determined that this person will be sentenced to death or he'll be sentenced to life imprisonment. No, it doesn't work like this in the laws of Sharia. Even murder, something as serious as murder, it is considered as a civil matter. So in this scenario that involved the Saudi prince, the family of this prince, the royal family, they actually went to the family of the victim and offered them a huge settlement, offered them like millions of riyals, pleading to them that, look, it happened already, would you pardon our son in exchange of this? But it so happened that the family of this victim, they refused all those millions, and they opted to accept what is referred to as the qisas. They opted for the other option, which is that the life of the prince be taken, for what he had done to their son. So even at the last moment, even the moment when he was being taken, to be executed, the family were trying to bargain and trying to come to a settlement, but the family of the victim actually held out and said, you know what, we will not accept any settlement. And the penalty had to be carried out, not because he was a prince or he belonged to the royal family and they're so wealthy that he can just walk scotch-free, he can just do whatever he wants to do. I mean, this is so, it's something that is very prevalent in society today, that the people who have, the stronger ties in society, whose father is maybe a minister, or some, he comes from the royal family, or he comes from a very wealthy background, he just walks around doing as he likes, acting, with impunity. He doesn't care. Someone is going to, help him to just walk away scotch-free. They find ways of manipulating the system because they have money, etc. In the laws of Islam, it doesn't work like this. Because each and every human being, their blood is considered to be sacred. Whether a person is a Muslim, whether a person is a Jew, a Christian, Hindu, whatever, each and every person in the laws of Sharia is considered, sacred. His blood is sacred. You cannot take his life. Now, unless he breaks one of those rules that will cause him now to obviously lose some of his rights. So that is a good example. I want many of you to, if you haven't seen it in the news, you can actually look for it, Google it, and read that story. You'll find, you'll see exactly how, the laws of Islam carry out, justice and deliver the rights of even normal citizens and normal people, against people who may be from a royal family, etc. So, the law, as I've said before, the laws of Sharia are designed to protect the rights of everyone, regardless of who you are, man or woman. A lot of times we hear this, and people, I don't know where these crazy things come from, but recently someone asked me the question, why is it that in a country that is governed by Sharia, if a man rapes a woman, that the woman is executed, she is stoned to death, and the man is left to go scotch-free. My dear friends, this is unheard of. There is no such thing in the laws of Sharia. There's no such laws in the Sharia where a woman is where the victim now is being oppressed. The rights of the victim, the life of the victim is being taken away, as opposed to us going after the perpetrator. It's insane. So a lot of times people ask me this question, why is this so? My dear friends, there is no such thing in the laws of Sharia. Islam and the laws of Sharia protect victims. They protect the victim. They protect every innocent life that is being wronged, that is being oppressed. The perpetrator is the one that the laws of Sharia go after. The laws of Sharia is not there to favor men, neither is it there to favor the wrongdoers. So, in a situation where a man rapes a woman, never would the Sharia go after the woman and cause any harm to her or impose any penalties on her. It is the man that the Sharia goes after. It's the perpetrator that the Sharia goes after. It is just one of the things that people, it's very unfortunate that people would actually look, at the laws of Sharia and paint such an ugly picture of it, where it is completely false. So my dear friends, this is the reason why I continue to encourage you to learn so much more about Sharia, about the laws of Sharia, about the way we conduct, our business, the way we carry out different aspects of our lives according to the laws of Sharia. And don't ever be afraid of the word Sharia. Don't ever think that, that these laws are here to oppress people. Don't ever think this way. Yes, there's a picture that is painted out there by some errant Muslims, by some people that are extreme. There are people out there that are extreme and who actually don't implement Sharia, but they implement their own cultural practices and try to make it seem as though it's the Sharia. So whenever you see those barbaric executions and you see that people are being oppressed, etc., it is not because of the Sharia, it is because of people trying to bring their culture into the Sharia, into the laws of Islam. So be very careful with what you see out there. Be very cautious about the information that is being spread out there about the laws of Sharia. Many of our laws in the Westminster system, many of our Western laws were actually obtained from the laws of Sharia. in our next program, God willing, I will share with you some of those things that, because the laws of Sharia, mind you, it is not like, 100 or 200 years old. It is hundreds of years old. It is, a matter of fact, it goes way back, to the beginning of creation, because these laws were set down by God Almighty. So every prophet received certain laws that maybe other prophets did not receive. Every nation received certain laws that were, more suitable for them, and then those laws were, became outdated, and then, another people were granted laws that were more applicable to them. However, there are certain core laws that have remained consistent throughout time. The laws, of murder, the laws for orphans, the law, for women, the law for, children, etc., the law with regards to, the worshiping of one single God, etc. These laws in the religion of God Almighty, they have remained consistent. However, there are, smaller laws that have changed over time because, the people differed, their culture differed, their region differed, etc. So we'll have a look at all of those things, in our upcoming programs. I'm out of time today, but I would like to encourage you to come out and learn more. Let us sit together. Give me a call anytime. Just give me a call. Even in the night after work, you get home and you look at the program, you want to have a discussion, just call me. We can interact and, answer any questions that you have. Also, if you would like a copy of the Quran, then please just give me a call or email me, and I would be very happy to give you a copy of the Quran and any other material that you would like to obtain, that will afford you a better understanding of Islam. My dear friends, out of time today. Once again, thank you for watching this program. I pray and ask God Almighty to grant us an increase in wisdom, to grant us, His guidance, and to clear our hearts and our minds from any ill feelings that we may have, towards anyone, belonging to any race or any religion. Until we meet again, may the peace, mercy, blessings, guidance of God Almighty be with you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر